And here it is, the iPhone 12 Pro. Now by now, I'm sure you know what it looks like, so that's not important. As a creator coming from the iPhone 8 Plus, I was the most excited about these three lenses on the new iPhone 12. Upon ordering this phone, I was extremely curious to see how usable this camera actually is. So in this video, I want to talk about if using the iPhone 12 as your main photo and video camera is actually practical, and then show you some of the results, some of the photos and videos that I've been able to capture with it. Before we dive in, I created a short little 1-minute short film using this phone to sort of test it out. So before we get too deep into this video, let's roll that. The iPhone 12 Pro. I wonder what this little camera is capable of. To find out, we set off before sunrise in Ryan's new Mazda Miata. We just pulled into Lassen National Park here. We're chasing the light. It's coming up really quick. This is a car that Ryan has always dreamed of owning. So naturally, I really wanted to photograph it for him. I think we and this iPhone 12 nailed it. So, as you can see, the sun has risen, golden hour is done. We had a nice little, maybe 30-minute window, and I think we got some great shots. Bonnie is stoked on them, and like all came from this iPhone, which is just mind-blowing. The detail, the portrait mode is so good on this phone, blows my mind. I'm mainly stoked to use this camera as a little vlogging camera more. I don't think I'm gonna need another camera for that. The days of having to have a dedicated vlogging camera, I think are over with this iPhone 12. The audio sounds pretty good. The video, especially with that wide angle, is great for vlogging. And the best part is, it's always in your pocket. The best camera is the one you have on you, and this one's always on me. So I'm excited because I will never miss a moment. And that's kind of what the behind the scenes vlogging is all about. My Chariot. Thank you, I'll hop in. I hope you enjoyed that little short film. I'm gonna talk more about my experience shooting it in a second. Gone are the days where you had to get yourself a point and shoot camera and then also a phone. Now, both of them are combined into one unit. I fully believe after shooting and testing on the 12 Pro that it's just as capable as most point and shoot cameras that are currently coming out. Really quick, what feature are you the most excited about with these new iPhones coming out, the iPhone 12 Pro? Let me know down in the comments. Let's chat a little bit about the video you just watched, how my experience went using the iPhone 12 Pro to shoot that video and those photos you saw in the video. Sick. Wow. Look at that. Whew. I personally think the video turned out pretty darn nice considering it's coming from a phone. I'm someone that's used to shooting video on multi-$1,000 cameras and lenses, and I have to say the features that they've been able to pack into the 12 Pro is pretty crazy. 4K 60, high frame rate modes like 120, 240. I shot in 120 frames slow motion a lot in that. Overall, there's just a ton of pro features packed into it. All these smartphones, especially Apple right now, are pushing the limits in terms of not needing to buy a legit expensive video camera to get into filmmaking, and that makes me pumped. I will say I had to tweak the colors quite a bit in Final Cut Pro in the editing to make the footage look how I wanted it to look, to get it to a point that I was happy with. That was my very first experience shooting on the 12 Pro, so I don't think my settings were as perfect as they could have been. There were a couple clips that there was a little bit of flickering. I think it might have been the HDR sort of flickering on and off, trying to compensate. I probably should have just turned that off. But overall, for literally having the phone in my hands for only like a day before going out and shooting that, I think the footage came out pretty darn good. And as always, it's more about the story and less about the gear. So if you have a story to tell, then the iPhone 12 Pro is more than capable of being a tool that's going to be useful to tell that story. I will say I was much more impressed with the photos that were coming out of the iPhone 12 Pro over the video. The portrait mode has just come such a long ways. It's so clean, the way the edges are sort of softened. There's not this like hard cut off on the background like there used to be with my iPhone 8 Plus. They've definitely improved that technology. And I definitely think the photos seem a little bit more professional looking than the video. I think that the line is a lot more blurred between an expensive mirrorless camera and an iPhone when it comes to the photos. I think a lot of people would not even be able to tell the difference. On paper, the 12 Pro has some really impressive video specs, but when I actually went out and made a video with it, they were just a little bit underwhelming. I was a little bit less impressed than what I thought it might do. That being said, it still looked great. I would probably give the video capabilities on the 12 Pro like a 7 out of 10, and I would give the photo capabilities like a 9, if not a 10, given it was shot on a smartphone. I think there are a ton of different categories and uses that the iPhone 12 cameras could be good for, ranging from beginners using it all the way to more professional filmmakers, cinematographers. Let me explain. For beginners, yes, I do think the 12 Pro's camera and video and photo capabilities are enough for this phone to be your one and only hybrid video and photography camera. I think it's more than enough to learn the basics, learn storytelling, learn editing, get in the process of coming up with an idea, shooting it, editing it, and putting it out there. Then after you've created a handful of videos and you really feel like you're ready to level up, at that point it might be worth looking into purchasing or investing in a mirrorless camera that might be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. Now, for more advanced filmmakers or photographers, I think the 12 Pro is also going to be very useful, and I'm speaking for myself here. On the photo side, I get really excited about it, especially to use for social media, for quick stories when I don't want to bring out or carry my more expensive, bigger mirrorless camera. I can just pull this thing out, get a shot, put it on my story, maybe do a quick edit in Lightroom, and it's gonna look pretty darn good. Most people probably won't even be able to tell it's not from my real camera. I used to carry around a little point and shoot camera for this exact usage, but with the 12 Pro, I do not have to do that anymore. Also, like I mentioned earlier, on the video side, it's gonna be incredible for vlogging, for getting little behind the scenes clips here and there if I'm shooting another video, whether it's a YouTube video or a corporate video. Like I said, best camera you have is the one that's on you, and that phone is usually always in my pocket, so if something interesting is happening, I can just bust that out and get really great quality behind the scenes footage. You might be considering all the new options like the 12 mini or the 12 Pro Max, and I can't speak for either of those yet because I haven't personally used them, but from what I've seen, the video on the 12 Pro is very, very, very similar than what the 12 Pro Max is producing. I don't know if it's gonna be worth the extra cost. Like I said, I haven't used it yet. If you're in the market for a new phone, I don't see why you wouldn't wanna go with the iPhone 12 Pro. Yes, it's over $1,000, maybe right at $1,000, but like I said, it's completely replacing the need to have a point and shoot camera, another behind the scenes camera to have to carry around. You're really getting a phone here and a camera and, dare I say, a computer in your pocket. $1,000 for a phone is expensive, but these aren't really just phones anymore. Given the specs that are put into these phones, I have no problem paying over $1,000 for it, and I'm sure Apple knows that. I'm excited to continue pushing the limits on my iPhone 12 Pro, really diving into the settings and figuring out what works absolutely best for my style of shooting. If you have any questions about how I shot that video, edited it, feel free to leave those down in the comment section. I will get right back to you on that. In this video, I mainly focused on my experience with shooting with the iPhone 12 Pro in particular. I do have another video where I talk more generally about actually using your smartphone to get video. I'll link that somewhere up here. I'm not sure which side it's gonna go on. I use an 8 Plus, but the things I'm talking about are still completely relevant if you're shooting on an 8 Plus, an iPhone 4, 5, or an iPhone 12. If you enjoyed this video, you learned something, you got some value out of it, don't be afraid to hit that little like and subscribe button like people do here on YouTube. I'm an adventure filmmaker. I make videos of all types, but those are the films that I'm the most passionate about. I teach all things filmmaking, a little bit of photography on this channel, so if you're into those things, consider sticking around. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace.